the 25. Roethlisberger pulls it back, throws, has Juju Smith-Schuster. What a start to the night. One play, bang, touchdown Steelers.
The Eagles take over at the 17. Foles steps up. Foles delivers. Deep one-on-one. It's caught. Aguilar. Bye-bye. Touchdown. Eagles.
Steps into it. Pass is caught. Diggs. Sideline. Touchdown.
All right, everybody, what is going on to another episode of the Heated Sports Football Podcast? We're here yet again. It is week 6, which it's kind of crazy to think that 5 weeks of the NFL season are already in and done with, but a lot has happened in the last week. A lot of really good matchups, a lot of upsets last week that we're going to talk about. Going to make some MVP picks, kind of see how everybody's been doing so far to start the season, if it's meeting people's expectations or if we maybe have some surprises for you guys. But first things first, some maybe not so shocking news, but the first NFL coach of the season has officially been fired earlier this past week. I think it was on Monday morning. Literally, news dropped at like 5 a.m., so I don't know how that even happened. I don't know why why they'd be awake to officially fire him then. But Redskins head coach Jay Gruden, brother of John Gruden, is officially out of Washington after 5 full seasons. Again, Washington looks pretty bad right now. They have a bunch of like very below average quarterbacks. Offense hasn't looked great, suffered some injuries on defense, but overall, Washington's 0-5. Jay Gruden's, I think he was on the hot seat probably before the season even started. And if you're already on the hot seat and you start off going 0-5, you're going to be out within the next week or two. So not too surprising here. I mean, what was your reaction? I mean, do you think it was a move they needed to make, or they maybe should have made it a while ago, or like what was your reaction when you saw that?
Yeah, absolutely saw this one coming. And what I was more surprised about was the news. I think you'll have something to say about this being a Steelers fan. But a lot of people have been suggesting that Mike Tomlin might be a good fit to take over that role and even have a bigger role in the Redskins organization than he currently does with the Steelers. So I've been seeing that going around a lot lately. I personally don't believe that will ever happen, but it'd be interesting to hear you as a Steelers fan how you feel about that. But as far as John Gruden goes, not surprised at all. It was honestly overdue in my opinion, and yeah, he needed to go. This organization is terrible, and the coach is no exception to that, so hopefully they can find better option.
Yeah, I mean, overall, like the organization is just, it's not in a good spot right now in terms of like ownership, upper level management. And yeah, the coaching staff just really hasn't been up to snuff either. So yeah, Jay Gruden finally out. Before I address the Mike Tomlin subject here, just some final numbers for Jay Gruden in Washington. Again, like I said, 5 full seasons ending last year, 35, 49, and 1 as his official record. 1 lone playoff appearance back in 2015 with Kirk Cousins at the helm way back when. But yeah, overall, I mean, Jay Gruden says he's not bitter about it. Obviously, he's disappointed, but we'll kind of have to wait and see if he would end up getting another shot in some capacity in the NFL. Honestly, I really don't know. Like, I don't know if any like teams that are looking for a head coach, like most guys are kind of looking for like those like new, young, offensive-minded head coaches, guys like Cliff Kingsbury and just guys like that, Sean McVay type of coaches. So I don't really know if Jay Gruden's going to maybe have another opportunity in the NFL.
Yeah, going off that, to me, I mean, I don't know a ton about the Redskins, but what I felt like I was seeing is towards the end of his tenure in Washington, I just got the feeling that he didn't care.
Yeah, like it really didn't make any sense. I mean, he started Colt McCoy last week against New England. Obviously a game they were going to lose regardless, but you signed a veteran in Case Keenum who started the year. You ended up throwing your rookie number 6 or number 13 overall pick Dwayne Haskins in there the week prior. So I mean, those are your main 2 guys. You either pick the veteran that you signed or you pick the rookie that you drafted in the first round. Like, those should be your 2 quarterback candidates, not this random 3rd string guy that's been a backup his entire career in Washington. Why is he getting the start all of a sudden? Like, Case Keenum or Haskins, like, I don't think they really deserve to sit on the bench when Colt McCoy is going to be out there. So that really didn't make any sense. I think that might have been the final straw. I mean, again, they played New England. They got obliterated no matter who was going to be the quarterback. But yeah, I mean, it's just a lot of questionable decisions, just really not even looking like he was motivated to win a lot of football games.
Yeah, that was just the vibe that I was getting, that he kind of gave up and wasn't caring. So if you're an organization potentially looking at bringing in Jay Gruden after this, I mean, that definitely has to hurt. I wouldn't want a guy that just kind of threw his hands up and gave up, or so it looked like to me, and I'm sure other people as well. So that could hurt him moving forward as he looks for another role in a new organization.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, so I'll kind of address part 2 of this subject here. So you brought up Mike Tomlin. Mr. Mike Tomlin, Pittsburgh Steelers head coach, apparently at the top of the wish list for the Washington Redskins. And this kind of took everybody by surprise because Mike Tomlin's under contract with Pittsburgh for another 2 seasons after this 2019 season. So he's kind of he's tied with Pittsburgh for at least the next couple years. So it just kind of just raises a lot of questions. Potentially a quarterback trade. Very rare that actually happens in the NFL, but could. Yeah, head coach trade. Obviously, Tomlin would still have to agree to the Washington destination. But, I mean, regardless, some people are trying to put the pieces together. Oh, well, it makes sense. He's from Virginia, from the area down there. I think his son plays football for Maryland right now, the University of Maryland. So that's kind of right down the street from D.C. compared to Pittsburgh. So a couple just like geographical aspects there that could maybe bring up his interest to go to Washington. But just look at the situations. Look at Pittsburgh. I mean, yes, Pittsburgh is not having a good season either, but I mean, just looking at the rosters, the defense is promising. Getting Minkah Fitzpatrick, who's been playing great, solidifying that defense, who's forced a lot of turnovers this year. And then on your offense, I mean, yes, Big Ben's out. Yes, Mason Rudolph is now out. Rudolph supposedly should be back here in a couple weeks with a minor concussion, but Ben's going to be back next season, so you're going to be right back where you left off starting this season, hopefully. So with a promising organization, a good organization that's backed him up for years, I really don't see him wanting to leave Pittsburgh anytime soon. Maybe when his contract's up, maybe the two sides will just decide maybe not to renew it anymore, but I really don't see Washington giving up a lot to potentially trade for Tomlin. And even if they did, I don't even know if Pittsburgh would even take the offer because they've had 3 head coaches in the last 50 to 60 years. They're not ones to just make like weird, wild moves like that in trading your longtime head coach just for a draft pick or 2 or something like that. So I really don't think that's going to happen. I think it's a little overhyped for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I don't have a feeling that Mike Tomlin is going to want to go to the Redskins. He's had so much past success with the Steelers organization, and the Steelers have been there for him, like you said. And this season might be a lost cause. It doesn't look like they're going to be going anywhere, but they still have a lot of potential, especially on the defense, as you mentioned as well. They have a lot of young talent there. And quarterback, they might have their guy in Mason Rudolph, their future guy. Big Ben is coming back. It seems like the Steelers are a much better organization, or a much better team currently than even the Redskins are, with a lot more potential, even though Big Ben is aging. And as far as the organizations go, it's not even close at this point, which is the better run organization, which is clearly the Steelers.
Yeah. So just to like rebuttal my own point here real quick to wrap up this topic. I mean, so just arguing with myself a little bit. Again, I don't expect it to happen. I don't think it's going to happen for either side. But again, with Tomlin maybe being from the area, his son going to college there locally in the University of Maryland. I mean, also say Tomlin has taken a liking to Dwayne Haskins. Say he likes the idea of kind of raising Dwayne Haskins from the bottom up as a rookie quarterback. Again, you said Ben's aging. I mean, it seems like Rudolph might be the guy there, but I mean, maybe he's just interested in going back home, taking on a new challenge and building this franchise from the ground up essentially as a whole, not just with Dwayne Haskins, but... And yeah, like you kind of mentioned in your first take there too, if Washington is interested in giving Tomlin more power than just like head coaching responsibilities, that can maybe be something that Tomlin would be interested in.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think that would be the main factor that would be in his favor for preferring the Redskins right now.
And I mean, personally, as a Steelers fan, I mean, I've kind of been like over Tomlin and his like coaching staff for the last couple years now. Personally, I think they've had a lot of potential on the field, and the coaching really just hasn't helped them bring out that potential. Ever since then, Pittsburgh giving up like 50 points to Blake Bortles in the playoffs a few years ago, that was kind of my last straw for Tomlin. I've kind of let it go, though. He's never had a losing season. That's like the stat that you hear all the analysts say. Mike Tomlin never had a losing season. Why would you wish him out of town? But at the end of the day, I wouldn't be opposed to a change of scenery in Pittsburgh myself. Like I kind of mentioned, a young offensive-minded coach to kind of breed Mason Rudolph here coming up maybe after Big Ben retires in a few years. But again, I highly doubt it's going to happen. Pittsburgh is they're very large like sticklers with their head coaches. I mean, again, unless something drastic happens or there's significant losing happening in the organization, they're not really going to move on from their head coaches.
Yeah, last thing I want to bring up, you kind of touched on, but as an AFC North fan, watching a lot of Steelers and Ravens games, I've been kind of surprised that Tomlin's still around because At the surface, you look at things and you see a coach that's never had a losing season, so you think, okay, he's a great coach. But I don't know. Like you said, there's a lot of potential that I think what didn't quite reach as far as they could have. And I've been personally surprised that Tomlin's stuck around this long.
No, I mean, I agree with you. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, like as a Pittsburgh fan, like it's frustrating for sure. Like with the killer bees, like you have Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell, Ben Roethlisberger, more in his prime, a few years younger. And you had an above-average defense at the time as well, and you can't even get out of the first round of the postseason for those couple years. Like, it's just kind of just like inexcusable in a sense, just with how talented that roster was. But
it really was a crazy roster.
Yeah, so I mean, it's kind of a shame. I mean, I'm just like saying it out loud, just kind of getting queasy thinking about it. But I mean, it's unfortunate, but at the same time, I don't hate Mike Tomlin, but I definitely wouldn't be opposed to, like I said, getting that change of scenery in Pittsburgh, maybe with the new, much younger defense, more even, especially like I said, yeah, Ben's only here another year or two, a much younger offense then as well, with guys like Juju and Connor in there. So maybe wouldn't hurt, but again, it's gonna take a lot of things to kind of be put in place for that to actually happen. So let's transition here quick. I'm on my phone trying to look up some actual stats before we get into it, but MVP picks. So we're 5 weeks into the season now, a little over a quarter of the way done. Just kind of going over who's actually been performing like above and beyond, maybe meeting expectations, maybe like surpassing expectations that everybody had throughout the preseason before everything got started. So, I mean, if I have to give the MVP award to somebody right now, it's Russell Wilson. And I mean, I think it's like a close between him and Mahomes. They both have pretty identical stats. No interceptions so far this season. QBR well over 100 for the first 5 games, but look at their rosters. Like, even, okay, Tyreek Hill's been injured, yes, but Patrick Mahomes still has a significantly better offense than what Russell Wilson has.
He's got Andy Reid, too.
Yeah, I mean, Andy Reid is a head coach. No knock on Pete Carroll and his staff. I still like Pete Carroll as a top head coach in the league, but I'm probably taking Andy Reid in that comparison as well.
For a quarterback, always.
Yeah. And I mean, just looking at what Russell Wilson's done, I mean, he's made a guy named Will Dissly one of the top tight ends in football this year, which just like no one even knew who he was before Russell Wilson started throwing him the football. And I mean, he's hitting the open receivers every single time. Tyler Lockett's still being there. I think he's like basically the new Doug Baldwin in a sense. Not going to go off for crazy numbers every week, but he's reliable. He's going to catch the ball every time he throws it to him.
Metcalf's gotten some big plays.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he's getting hitting DK Metcalf. They're using him really well. Maybe the guy that people didn't expect to kind of be doing well out of the gate or getting a lot of playing time, but I mean, they drafted him, they're using him, and it's definitely paid off so far. So, I mean, yeah, give me Russell Wilson. Again, I think it's a close 1-2 between him and Mahomes so far, but just with what Russell Wilson's done with far less talent, I think that has to be taken into consideration.
Yeah, I hate to break it to you, but the best player in the league right now in the MVP, it's not even a quarterback. I'm going to say it's Christian McCaffrey because this guy is playing out of his mind. You look at his stats, I don't have them up right here, but I'm sure he's averaging probably over 150 scrimmage yards per game. He has, I think, maybe 6 touchdowns, and he's just absolutely carrying this Panthers team. People are criticizing Cam Newton and praising Kyle Allen, but the real reason the Panthers are winning is Christian McCaffrey. And it's obvious. This guy is putting the team on his back. Kyle Allen barely even has to throw the ball.
Oh, yeah.
He's doing it in the receiving
game. It's the ultimate safety blanket as I think technically Kyle Allen's second-year quarterback. But, yeah, when you have a guy making his first starts, it's the ultimate safety blanket to have a guy like McCaffrey there.
He's doing it all. He's doing that as a receiver. He's doing that as a running back. And he's unstoppable. Nobody's been able to – actually, the Buccaneers slowed him down, but nobody's really been able to stop him yet. And I think he absolutely deserves the MVP. Nobody is more valuable to their team at this point in the season than Christian McCaffrey has been for the Panthers.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's definitely should be considered. I mean, at least so far, he's by far the best, I would say, non-quarterback candidate probably for MVP, but it's almost, I mean, it is a shame, but like the MVP award is a quarterback award. But I mean, I definitely think McCaffrey's in the running for the Offensive Player of the Year, which basically that award is just basically the best non-quarterback in the league. That's essentially what that award goes to every year. But, I mean, yeah, if McCaffrey keeps these numbers up, I don't know how you can't at least consider him for the MVP, even with those quarterbacks like Russell Wilson and Mahomes playing so well.
Yeah, going to be honest, it's going to go to a quarterback at the end of the year. But I'm saying right now, I think McCaffrey has a real case, and he'd get my vote. Yeah. But as the season goes on, quarterbacks are more than likely going to keep the consistency up more than a running back will. But I'm just saying, if the Panthers have an average running back and not Christian McCaffrey, they don't have a win yet.
Yeah. I mean,
this guy's insane.
He's the top player in fantasy right now, including like all the quarterbacks. McCaffrey, top overall player in PPR fantasy. So, again, not really what people consider for like the actual like in-season awards, but I mean, that just kind of shows how much he's been going off so far through 5 games. So, I mean, just another like award real quick, like Defensive Player of the Year. I mean, I think it's normally going to be obvious, Aaron Donald, Khalil Mack, those type of guys. But I mean, the Bears kind of look disappointing in London. They took the L. Josh Jacobs and the Raiders kind of ran all over them. But I mean, can you argue anybody other than those two winning Defensive Player of the Year, assuming they're both healthy?
I mean, right now you have Shaquille Barrett, the pass rusher for the Buccaneers, with 9 sacks, kind of dominating that category. So I think if the season ends today, he'd be a top choice for Defensive Player of the Year, but he's not going to keep up that pace. I wouldn't be surprised if a player eclipses him by the end of the season as far as sacks go. And I'm going to throw out one name here that is a real kind of out there pick for Defensive Player of the Year, Devin McCourty. He has 4 picks. You rarely ever see cornerbacks getting this award, but I think this guy has potential to be one of the few cornerbacks we see. With leading the league in interceptions so far, he's a big reason about why that Patriots defense is just shutting down every team they play. It's a long shot, but Devin McCourty would be a name that I would keep in mind when considering. Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, real quick, just to go over some rookie awards maybe. Offensive Rookie of the Year, Defensive Rookie of the Year. I'd probably right now say, after what Josh Jacobs did last week against Chicago, give me Josh Jacobs as Offensive Rookie of the Year. Defensive Rookie of the Year, probably Brian Burns for Carolina. Edge rusher, just had a long defensive touchdown last week. So, I mean, I'd probably take Brian Burns. Hey, Devin Bush for Pittsburgh's looked really good, too. I definitely think he'll be in the conversation when the year's all said and done. But just, yeah, real quick, I mean, what do you think of the rookies this year so far? Yeah, I want to start off, I agree with you. On the Brian Burns, I think right now he's kind of separated himself from the other rookies and has proved to be the best defensive player so far. But I do agree. Personally, if I had to bet on it, I'd say by the end of the season, I think Devin Bush takes home the award. I'm going to disagree on the offensive rookie. I'm going to go Minshew. I don't see how it can be anyone else. Gardner and Kyler Murray are both like in that conversation for sure. Just, again, that they're quarterbacks, franchise guys kind of leading the team all season for being, for the quarterback position. But, I think, for sure. I think so far Minshew has been more impressive than Murray. He's elevated a team that, I don't know, didn't have anywhere close to as much kind of potential and hype that the Cardinals offense did with Cliff Kingsbury coming in. And Minshew, his touchdown to interception ratio is great, and he's winning games. Kyler Murray really isn't so far. I do think he'll get better, but Minshew right now, he's a winner. Yeah, definitely. I mean, he's kind of put the team on his back. I mean, not many people really believed in this offense, but I mean, Leonard Fournette's come alive as well to kind of help him out. But that could be like them both kind of relying on each other. Like Fournette's shining because Minshew's playing well, Minshew's shining because Fournette's playing well. Definitely looks good in Jacksonville right now. And I mean, if he, like we mentioned it last week, like if he keeps it up, it's going to be an interesting conversation in Jacksonville at the end of the season when Foles is healthy. So yeah, it's awesome to see. Like you just said, the Jaguars offense is coming together. The beginning of the season, DJ Chark is insane. He's a top 5 receiver right now. Yeah. Beginning of the year, Leonard Fournette looked really bad, but now Minshew's had a couple weeks to get acclimated. The receivers are looking good. The running game is looking like one of the best in the league, and I don't know who's going to stop the Jaguars. They could potentially be a dark horse playoff team. Yeah, I mean, if the defense kind of holds up and gets back to that form they had in 2017, I mean, I don't see why not at the end of the day. So here's a quick little question I just thought of. So the Jalen Ramsey situation we've touched on before. I don't want to talk about it a lot, but with this success the Jaguars were having, do you think this could possibly kind of change his mind? He wanted to leave for a winning team, to be traded, but now the Jaguars are looking like they could have a playoff spot in the near future. Does this bring Jalen Ramsey back? Does he have any chance of staying with this team, or is he for sure going to be on the trading block? I mean, I definitely think it could, because I think that's why they haven't traded him already. I mean, say they lost the last 4 games since Foles got injured. Well, 5 if you count like the game he actually got hurt in. So say they're 0-5 or 1-4 instead of 2-3. I mean, I could definitely see that happening. Yeah, they could be gone. He'd already be gone and shipped out of there. But I think that this Jacksonville team and like the ownership thinks that they have a chance this year with how well Gardner's playing. Keep Jalen Ramsey. Hopefully they keep winning games without him, and that maybe changes his mind a little bit. As far as what Jalen Ramsey's thinking, I mean, I don't really think anybody's able to know that. He could be 100% set on his decision regardless of what happens with this Jags team this year. But I mean, if they keep winning games, I think with every win it kind of could maybe sway his mind more and more. So definitely feel like it'd be tough to go back basically saying you guys aren't good enough, I want to play for some winners. Yeah. And then to go back on your word and say, all right, never mind, I'll come back, you guys are good. So I do think it'd be a difficult decision on Jalen Ramsey's part, but I'd love to see him back on this team. Yeah.
All right, yeah, so real quick, so we'll transition here again. So we're going to get into some potential trade rumors that are happening with some star players, specifically at the wide receiver position. I'm going to address one first and pretty much just put it to rest already, but a lot of people have been speculating that Bengals wide receiver A.J. Green could potentially be on the trading block with how bad Cincinnati's looked so far this season without him. If you don't know, Cincinnati's 0-5. Their offense looks atrocious right now. But
soon to be 0-6.
Soon to be 0-6 with Baltimore coming to town, But yeah, I mean, so A.J. Green's been sidelined so far with an injury. Apparently, he's going to be practicing in a limited capacity this week, starting next week. So maybe getting back into the action soon. But new head coach Zach Taylor pretty much put that to rest today, saying there's no way we are trading him. He's going to be a Bengal this season. So, I mean, not that he's lying, or maybe anybody can change their mind at some point depending on how the season plays out. But right now, it looks like A.J. Green is going to be staying in Cincinnati.
Yeah, we got a couple receivers. This would be interesting to see what happens moving forward. Stephon Diggs, we talked about. I think both of us came to the conclusion we don't really see him moving teams anytime soon. But another one that I do think has a real chance of finding a new organization is Emmanuel Sanders. The Broncos.
Interesting, yeah.
Broncos have one win. They're really not looking like they're going anywhere this season. And Courtland Sutton has emerged to be their guy, their number one receiver. And Emmanuel Sanders, he started off hot, but since Courtland Sutton kind of broke out, has been kind of a lot less effective, not really catching a lot of balls from Flacco. So I think there's a very high chance we see Emmanuel Sanders on a new team before the trade deadline. As to who, I really don't know. I haven't looked that far into it, but just a name to keep in mind.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's like a veteran guy, but like he can still definitely help an offense for sure. Like that could use a wide receiver. I'll get into some potential teams here in a second, though. Yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, especially with the Ravens. Like, I mean, they have a good core, but it's definitely young. Like Hollywood Brown, Willie Snead in there right now. But
we have a history of bringing in veteran receivers, Anquan Baldwin, Steve Smith, more recently. So yeah, actually, I just thought of that, but that'd be an awesome signing to me for the Ravens.
Yeah, just another weapon for Lamar for sure. I mean, that division looks terrible right now, which is a good segue actually.
Worst division of football.
Yeah, definitely the worst division of football.
Did not see that coming.
0-5 Bengals, 1-4 Steelers. What is it? 2-3 Browns now, and then 3-2 Ravens. So I mean, it's looking rough right now, but somehow it's still kind of up in the air on who'll be able to take the division. But Cleveland coming off an ugly loss on Monday Night Football against the undefeated San Francisco 49ers, which leads to the Odell Beckham trade speculations. After how ugly this offense has looked, Baker has not looked good whatsoever after all the hype that kind of came up with this team in the preseason. Odell really hasn't performed very well either. Not really doing well in terms of production. He's getting a lot of targets, but just really not having anything happen with it. I think he only has one touchdown, which was like a long breakaway touchdown against the Jets. So I don't even know if we should even count that in week 2.
It's scary if you don't. If you take away that touchdown, it's his numbers.
Yeah, because I think that was like a 65, 70-yard touchdown. So take that specific play out of the equation. His stats for the rest of the season are looking really bad.
Recognizable.
So, I mean, of course, with how much they've been struggling, a lot of speculation. Should Cleveland trade Odell Beckham Jr.? Apparently, some teams have already sent some offers. Those teams being San Francisco, or maybe not offers, but at least express some interest. So San Francisco, I would definitely argue they could use a solid number one wide receiver, especially since they're undefeated. You got guys like George Kittle there, a lot of solid running backs. So that's an important piece that I think that would just kind of skyrocket them to the next level for sure. Obvious, and then I think the obvious too, Philadelphia Eagles and New England Patriots also expressing interest. Obviously, if he goes to either one of those teams, that's a whole new Super Bowl contender. New England kind of already being the favorite without him. So, I mean, yeah, those two teams I think are always kind of in the hunt, or at least interested in getting these like star like players that are looking to be traded, or like high-end free agents. But one, do you think it's going to happen? Similar like the Tomlin scenario. One, do you think it's going to happen? And if you do, or if it would, who do you think would have the best shot at getting him?
All right, I'm going to say this. Cleveland Browns, they need to trade Odell Beckham Jr. I think that is pretty much the best option for them moving forward. They have so many stars on that team. There's just, in my opinion, too many. They got Baker Mayfield, Nick Chubb. They need to focus on the running game if they really want to start winning games first and foremost.
And when they do that, they look good. They did that against Baltimore, and they blew them out of the water like 2 weeks ago. So, I mean, when they focus on Chubb, it definitely works.
You could argue they already have a number one receiver in Jarvis Landry, who's clearly been Baker Mayfield's favorite target. I don't think they miss Odell Beckham Jr. at all. I think he makes the offense more simplistic for Baker Mayfield. I think it will find more success once Odell is removed from the situation. Don't forget they have Kareem Hunt coming back, I believe, mid-November. So that's just going to be another personality, another star, another mouth to feed. It's just busy there, and I think it's getting to Baker Mayfield. We haven't talked about Baker a lot on this show, but he's been bad. So far, it doesn't look like he can handle the position that he's in, being drafted number 1 overall, being a starting quarterback. It just doesn't look like he's able to handle it, and I think trading Odell Beckham Jr. would have an immediate improvement on Baker's performance.
Because,
So,
I mean,
yeah.
we forget that he hasn't even had a full season in the NFL. He started like early in the season last year, but this will be his first full season in the league. Not looking very well with the hype surrounding, like I said, the hype surrounding this Cleveland team was just, I said out of the gate, was just way too much for this young team. Clearly that is the case. Baker not really looking well at all, especially in prime time last week, like I said, in their beatdown from the 49ers. They have Jarvis Landry there still. Jarvis actually did well as the number 1 receiver for them last year before Odell came in. Have Jarvis Landry there. They have Callaway coming back from an injury. I think was he suspended or he coming back from an injury? But apparently they really like him in Cleveland as another young receiver. So focus on those guys. Yes, Njoku's injured, but when Njoku's healthy, that's a solid tight end in your arsenal as well. And then, yeah, the 1-2 punch of Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt eventually. Just focus on the running game. But what they need to do if they're going to do that, I don't disagree that they should trade Odell, but it has to be for the right price. Odell, take out the rough numbers this year, Odell is still Odell. He's still a top-tier talent at the wide receiver position. You have to address the offensive line. Their offensive line is not protecting Baker, and I think that's part of the struggles that he's had so far this season. But yeah, if you want to kind of change your narrative and focus on the running game, you need to get some type of help for the offensive line. Established offensive lineman and like a draft pick or two maybe for Odell, I think is something that they desperately need. No, like you said, no more star players, no more star offensive talent. Defense has shined at times, but they've it's been very up and down for the defense so far. Again, defense is still very young, so really not going to knock on too many of their players on the defensive side of the ball. But yeah, I don't disagree. But yeah, I think the offensive line should be the key to address if they do make that move.
I will continue to stand by Odell Beckham Jr. I truly believe he's a top 5 wide receiver in the league, but I will continue to defend Odell Beckham Jr. I truly believe he's still a top 5 wide receiver talent in the NFL, but he needs to go. Removing him from the team, like I said, will only benefit the Browns. It'll make things easier for Baker, and the team will just overall get better. They'll have more success. Yeah.
I mean, I agree. Like I said, I mean, I think Cleveland would definitely benefit if they dish Odell for the right price. I mean, they still, like, you need to know what you have. You can't just kind of ship him out of town. Make sure you're getting what his value is in return. But I'll just kind of leave it with this. San Francisco, it is your time this year. Do not let these bullies in New England and Philadelphia steal this guy away from you if he actually is on the market. This is the one piece that your team needs right now to make you a legitimate Super Bowl contender. And if Cleveland is seriously considering offers, like, you need to go all in and get him. Like, I don't care what you have to do, to be honest.
I was gonna say that 49ers.
Yeah, like, out of those, like, again, those are the 3 teams, like, right, that I've at least seen reports of. There could be more that have come out, but if it's right now just kind of those main three teams, San Fran, you can't let them take them from you. You have to go after them.
I don't know. These past couple of weeks, I've been turning into a little bit of a San Fran fan. I love watching these guys play. It's an awesome team to watch. They're so well coached. The defense is playing great. The offense is playing very great as well. The run game is unstoppable. I want to see Odell on this team. What the Browns did wrong was they threw everything together before they had anything going for them, and it just messed everything up. It's messing with Baker. Nobody really knows what's going on. San Francisco has established, as I just said, a great offense. They know their identity. They know what they're doing. So now would be the time they can add a piece like Odell Beckham Jr. You can't just take Odell and add him to the Browns situation. The rebuilding, it's a recipe for disaster. A lot of people saw it coming.
And we've seen it now, in the flesh. Like,
absolutely.
It's recipe for disaster. I like that.
49ers have completely established their offensive identity. They look great, and they're able to add a superstar. This would be the time that a team can do it. 49ers need to. They will be unstoppable.
Agreed. So, agree or disagree, let us know. We're going to transition here now, get into some Week 6 matchups. So that's where we'll leave it there. Again, some pretty star wide receivers and potentially going to be on the trade block. So it's just really interesting to see. We'll get into maybe some more trade rumors as the weeks go on and the trade deadline gets a little closer. But
we got one last one we may as well bring up.
Yeah.
Trent Williams on the Redskins.
Yep.
The new coach that they will inevitably bring in could help the possibility of him being traded. And we talked about the Browns' offensive line is the worst part of their team. If they ship Odell, that could make room for them to bring in
free up some
that
room to
veteran
get him.
offensive lineman. Could help. Just a possible outcome in the future.
Yeah, I mean, Washington just free Trent Williams. Like, this guy's like an all-pro talent, Pro Bowler almost every year, and he's kind of wasting away in Washington, not even playing right now. So he's sticking to his ground. Just dish him, dude. Like, you'll get a solid draft pick for him or a solid player in return, but you just gotta let him go.
I think the new coach will help that. So
yeah, I
good
definitely
things coming for Trent Williams.
I agree too, for sure. So, all right, yeah. So honestly, looking at week 6, just to transition, not a whole lot of great matchups. By the time this goes live Friday, New England would have already beaten the Giants by 35 points, so we're not going to talk about that game at all. Hoping Brady and Edelman carry my fantasy team, but regardless,
you don't think Daniel Jones will be able to?
Daniel Jones, who's he going to throw to? Himself? Like, literally none of their offense is playing. Like, I mean, I think if the Giants were at full force, I don't hate their young offense, but their defense is still really bad, and the offense is the most injured offense in the league right now, I think. So
I feel bad for Daniel Jones. This is like kind of a make or break game. He's been hyped up so much, and if he plays terrible, it's kind of going to all come crashing down. If he somehow is able to put together a good performance, not great, he's obviously not going to be great, but if he's good, then the Daniel Jones hype is going to continue to be real and grow even bigger. So I'm really excited to watch this game. Daniel Jones is one of the most intriguing young players to me, so I'll look forward to seeing what he can do against the Patriots. Like you said, they have nobody left on offense, so it'll be that much more impressive if he can just look decent.
Yeah, I agree. So, I mean, even if they get blown out, I'm not going to knock it on them. But before we get into our upset picks of the week, just a couple matchups I want to kind of go over real quick. In a little detail, not going to hold us too long here, but Chiefs and Texans I think is by far the most anticipated matchup this week. Houston going into Kansas City. 2 AFC powerhouses. Houston looked great. Deshaun Watson lit it up last week.
3 points?
Yeah, for fantasy. So, I mean, just looking amazing. Hopefully, Laramie Tunsil making an immediate impact for that offensive line, protecting Watson, another team that desperately needed to protect their quarterbacks, and it paid off in a big way.
Worth the 2 first-round picks?
Yeah, right now it looks like it for sure.
So.
I mean, connecting with Will Fuller kind of reawoken, or was reawoken last Sunday. Do the Texans, I mean, do they stand a chance? I mean, the Chiefs are going to be pretty angry after coming off with that primetime loss to the Colts, also at home last week. So, I mean, what do you think they bounce back, or do the Texans have a chance?
They stand a chance. Deshaun Watson, as of last week, looks like an MVP candidate. And like you said, Will Fuller's on the scene now. He looks amazing. So hopefully that'll open up some more options for DeAndre Hopkins too, who's been a little quiet ever since week 1. So now that Will Fuller has come to town, I think might loosen some coverage up for Hopkins. So I think the Texans, they have a real chance against the Chiefs. This one's going to be a lot different from the Colts, who just beat the Chiefs, kind of neutralizing them, holding them to 10, 13 points, something like that. This is going to be a shootout, and it's just going to be a matter of which quarterback can play better and throw more touchdowns.
And I'm excited because I have a lot of those offensive players on my fantasy team, so it's going to be fun for sure. I'm excited for it. So
this is a great game.
I think it's going to be a great game. I think the Chiefs will probably take it though, like you said, in a shootout fashion. But so next game on the slate that I want to go over real quick: Philadelphia Eagles traveling to Minnesota to take on the Vikings. Vikings kind of turned things around a little bit last week. Kirk Cousins heard all the hate and responded, throwing the ball pretty well, at least in terms of what he's comparing to what he's done earlier in the season, connecting with 2 Adam Thielen touchdowns.
Yeah, he'll quiet Thielen for a while.
Yeah, so I mean, I still think this is a good NFC matchup in Minnesota. I mean, do you think the Vikings stand a chance against the Eagles, who have been looking really well lately?
This is a good matchup. 2 of the probably top 3 or 4 teams in the NFC here. And yeah, I think both teams to me are kind of equally matched right here. I think the Vikings could easily beat the Eagles. I think Kirk Cousins could hopefully keep some of the momentum going with the passing game. Dalvin Cook.
I think you have to come out of the gate throwing. The Eagles secondary is like easily like their weakest spot right now. So I mean, don't do what the Eagles are going to expect you to do and try to pound the ball with Dalvin Cook, because their D-line's going to stop them, I think, if they do that. Start out with some play action, start throwing the ball early, get some points on the board early, and that might be the recipe for success.
It's really going to come down to Kirk Cousins. I predicted last week he'd get back on track against the horrible Giants defense. So this is a real, like you just said, the Eagles secondary is depleted. This is another great opportunity for Kirk to keep it going. I think he'll find some success here against the Eagles, which is going to keep the Vikings in this game. It's going to be close, but if I had to choose, to the Eagles take this one, because Wentz is just great and Kirk Cousins isn't.
Yeah, Wentz is great. I'll probably take the Eagles as well, but again, I mean,
it's going to be close, I think.
It'll be close for sure. I mean, I like the Vikings, but I just don't trust Kirk Cousins after one performance against a bad Giants defense to kind of keep it up and do that again this week. So one more good matchup I want to talk about before we get into our upset picks of the week. Team we just kind of talked about, 49ers traveling to LA to take on the Rams. Two, again, probably top-level NFC teams right now, even though the Rams just came off a rough loss against Seattle on Thursday night last week. I mean, do you think the 49ers can keep it going?
Hope so.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't. If there's a team that really doesn't have home field advantage, it's the Rams. I mean, especially with San Francisco being right there, right next to LA. Really no home field advantage factor, I don't think, with it being in LA for the Rams. But, I mean, I think the 49ers stand a chance. I mean, if that defense keeps playing like that, top level, forcing turnovers, just kind of being disrupted. Nick Bosa looked great. So, I mean, if he can keep it up and repeat that this Sunday, I mean, I think the Rams could be in trouble.
Yeah, this is going to be an exciting game for sure. Two of the most well-coached teams in the league, and we talked about the 49ers. I think the X factor is Jimmy Garoppolo, because it seems like every other aspect of the team they have figured out, and it's solid. Jimmy G is kind of the only inconsistency that the 49ers are going to have throughout the season, at least to me. So Jared Goff has actually been playing really well. I feel like he's been an underrated quarterback so far this season. It's going to be tough, but I think the 49ers could pull this one off just because they have the momentum. I think they're playing really well, and they know it. And I think the defense should be able to get to Jared Goff.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be close. I hope the 49ers can pull it off. I'll just leave it there.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think so too. All three of these really close games, so I'm excited for them regardless. They'll definitely be the ones I'm looking forward to the most. So yeah, I mean, that's where we'll kind of end it with that. So just to do our upsets here to wrap up the show real quick for a couple minutes. What do you got? I'm giving it to you first
because I know what you're gonna say.
No, I don't even know yet. I went first last week, but I mean, I'll go if you want me to.
No, I got it. I'm excited about this one. All right, yeah, I am coming off my first miss of the season, so I'm gonna have to bounce back. Here and get the ball rolling again. Where was I? Yeah, here we go. We just talked about it. The Texans are gonna take down the Chiefs.
Okay.
Chiefs are gonna lose 2 weeks in a row. I didn't really want to spoil it when we were talking about it, but pretty much covered everything I wanted to. Deshaun Watson is looking great, almost at that Patrick Mahomes level at this point in the season. It's going to be a shootout, but I think the Texans, they have more offensive weapons right now. I think they'll be able to pull this one out. You said it's in Kansas City?
Yep.
Yeah, I think the Texans are going to be able to pull off their second impressive high-scoring win in a row. The Chiefs are going to lose 2 in a row. It's nevertheless going to be an exciting game to watch.
Yeah.
The Chiefs are still a great team, so this would be a pretty significant upset. To have them lose twice in a row. But I really do believe Deshaun Watson can pull it off.
Yeah, I mean, like we said, I mean, I definitely agree. I think they have a good shot for sure. As far as my pick, I'm kind of struggling because there's a lot of either even, really even matchups where I'm just not sure, or all the lopsided matchups. There's no way. There's no way it's going to happen. Seattle at Cleveland, Seattle's easily going to win that game. Baltimore, Cincinnati, Baltimore's easily winning that game.
Don't say that.
Don't think so?
Bengals have no, I think they will, but Bengals, oh my gosh, nobody's had the Ravens number like the Bengals through the last couple years. Bengals always scare me. Just thank goodness AJ Green isn't playing because that man owns our defense.
Yeah. Hey, he's stashed in all my fantasy teams right now, so I kind of need him to come back sooner rather than later. So AJ Green, let's figure it out, dude. You're staying in Cincinnati. You're good. It's fine. I'm going to go with Detroit.
Really?
Detroit over Green Bay. Okay, game we really haven't kind of talked about. Monday Night Football. Packers, I would say, are definitely the favorites in that game, being at home. Detroit's look great. Extra week of rest, extra week of preparation coming off the bye week. I think Detroit's going to come out, and hopefully Matthew Stafford plays well, lights it up, connects with Kenny Galladay for a touchdown or two maybe. Pound the ball, carry on late in the game. I like what Detroit's been doing. That defense, I really didn't have faith in the defense. I kind of liked some of the pieces they had on offense, but the defense was my big concern. And, I mean, they've stepped it up. They played great against the Eagles a few weeks ago, getting that win. Almost coming out with the win against Kansas City. They played Kansas City really well 2 weeks ago before their bye week last week. So, yeah, I'm confident with the Detroit pick. I like that one a lot.
Yeah, wasn't surprised by that one. That probably would have been my second pick if I wasn't confident the Texans are going to be able to give the Chiefs a run for their money. I'm starting Matthew Stafford in fantasy this week. I think he's going to have a good game. What I was surprised of was you didn't pick the Steelers.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to keep the 2 weeks in a row trend going and pick the Steelers to upset again.
I was close. I
really thought it was coming. I guess it's just the question of who's starting at quarterback, so you can't
I'm
really
almost
know for sure.
I'm almost positive Devlin Hodges is going to be starting at quarterback.
Okay, I wouldn't have them.
A guy that no one really knows anything about, undrafted, out of Samford, not Stanford, so an FCS school. But I mean, he's good. I had the chance to go to training camp this year for Pittsburgh. Got to watch him in action with some of the other backups like Mason Rudolph. But Hodges impressed a lot of people, and I think that's half the reason why they ended up trading Josh Dobbs when they did. So Hodges is kind of getting his start now in prime time. He didn't look bad. I mean, I'm sure you probably watched the Baltimore game. Like, he was making some throws. He was making some plays with his legs in that towards the end of that Baltimore game. Some unfortunate penalties and some unfortunate field goals ended up not having Pittsburgh winning that game at the end.
Stuff.
But I mean, yeah, Hodges didn't look terrible. He's kind of throwing the ball with some confidence out of the gate again as an undrafted guy. So I think they have a chance still. I wasn't confident to pick them as the upset this week, but I mean, I'm still excited to watch it. So
I thought it was coming. I was prepared for it. Chargers look vulnerable. I'll say it right now. But
yeah,
now they have Melvin Gordon back.
Yeah,
turn around.
After that loss to Denver, though, like, I think they're a big question mark now.
For sure.
Yeah, so I mean, we'll have to see which Chargers team wants to come out this week. But either way, I definitely think Pittsburgh has a chance. Probably the best 1-4 team I've ever seen with that defense playing the way they are. Tied with the league, tied with the Patriots in turnovers this year on defense. But either way, it's
I
a
like
rough.
the Lions pick.
Yeah.
It's going to be an exciting Monday night matchup.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of good matchups this week, so I'm still excited for it. But that's where we're going to wrap it up, guys, right around 40 minutes. Went a little long, but yeah, a lot of great topics, a lot of potential trades going on. Jay Gruden, we wanted to touch on that as well. So thank you guys for tuning in. We're going to end it there. Links in the description, again, for the website, for social medias. I'm still doing the power rankings every single week that I like to do, so have that in the description for week 6 as well. So be sure to check that out, and just let me know what you think and where I have your teams going into week 6. So we'll wrap it up there. We'll be back next week. See you later, guys.